In this video, I'm going to talk about how to find the slope of a line when you're given 2 points. So what is the slope of the line that passes through those 2 points? So in this case, we're going to remember that slope is a rate of change. And what that means is we're measuring how does one change in one variable impact change in the other variable. So as one variable changes by a certain amount, how much does the other variable change? And when we're doing slope, first of all, the abbreviation for slope is m. And when we're doing slope, we get a formula. M is the change in y over the change in x. That little triangle is just, it's a Greek letter called delta, and it's just basically a shorthand form for the word change in. So whenever you see that triangle, it represents change. And we've learned that the formula for that is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And again, what we're doing is measuring when one variable changes, how does the other variable change in that same period of time. Okay, so the y2 and the y1 and the x2 and the x1 represent coordinate points. So we would have points, in this case we'll use these points here, and we'll call this -2, 10. This will be our x1, y1. The subscript just means it's our first point. x1 means x in our first point, y1 means y, the first point's y value. And then we'll call this other point x2, y2. Again, we're just saying this is point 2, so this is our second x value and our second y value. So to be able to calculate the slope, what we're looking for is how is y changing between these 2 points, and how is x changing between those 2 points. And that's what the subtraction is for. The subtraction is representing the fact that it's changing. Okay, what's the difference? How have they changed? So we're just going to now plug this into our formula. Okay, so we know that the formula says the change in y. So going from point 2 to point 1, what happens to y? Well, the second y value, our y2, is -8. Then the formula says minus the first y value, and y1 is 10. So we have -8 minus 10. Then we want to do x2 minus x1. How between these 2 points is the x value changing? Well, x2 is -5 minus, and we now want to put our x1 value, which is -2. And I apologize for these gray boxes. Now remember again, these subtractions here are part of the formula. They're not part of those numbers. We're measuring how much did something change by measuring the difference between the 2 numbers. So now we take our -8 minus 10 is -18, and -5 minus -2 is the same as -5 plus 2, which is -3. And now we're going to simplify. Okay, -18 divided by -3. Well, the negative over negative becomes a positive, and 18 divided by 3 is 6. So it turns out the slope of the line that passes through these 2 points is 6. Now, if you're questioning how I could determine that the -2, 10 was our first point and the -5, -8 is the second point, you get to choose that. You could have chosen that -2, 10 was was x2, y2, and the other one was x1, y1. The only thing you have to make sure is that if you're going to name this point point 1, -2, 10, you have to make sure that both of these are 1s. This can't be x1, y2. Okay? They both have to represent from the same point. But if you actually did the subtraction in the opposite direction, you would see that we would still come out with a slope of 6 for this equation.